In just 10 years, the coal seam gas industry has gone from obscurity to a high-profile part of Australia's resources sector, and a controversial part at that. Investors have put tens of billions of dollars into 4 projects to export gas from Queensland and New South Wales to markets all around the world. The fast-tracked boom has caught many by surprise, and there's growing evidence of a backlash. In response, the industry's now launched a campaign to put its case to a sometimes sceptical public, as Peter McCutcheon reports.
A blot on the rural landscape, or a sign of better things to come. Thousands of coal seam gas wells are spreading across southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. This rapid change is bringing spectacular wealth and increasing controversy. An unlikely alliance of urban greens and farming groups have come out fighting.
They can drill and they can mine over my smouldering bones.
And now the industry is returning fire with an organised campaign of its own.
We need CSG.
CSG will provide $850 million each year to the Queensland Government in much-needed royalties.
It comes at a critical time in what is an increasingly polarised debate.
Queensland needs this investment.
I'm surprised it's taken them so long. However, no, they'd be better off spending that money on proving the science, proving what's going on, what the impacts are on the environment.
To what extent is this campaign an admission that you're losing the battle for the hearts and minds of the general public?
Well, I think it's an admission that we need to have more balance in the debate. There's no question about that. And we'd like to give those people who live in the regions the ability to speak up.
Wherever there's coal, there's gas. But for thousands of years, up until a little over a decade ago, this resource was mostly untapped.
Methane in coal mines and from coal generally was regarded as a nuisance. And now this has been turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry, so it's certainly remarkable.
The sudden expansion in coal seam gas extraction is due to new Australian technology and growing demand, particularly from China, for cleaner fossil fuels. There are several thousand wells like this one in Queensland and New South Wales at the moment, but over the next few years the numbers will grow dramatically. How many will eventually be in operation?
Well, there's typically about 2,000 to 3,000 per project, and building up over time, depending on what is the size of the end use of that. So tens of thousands of wells.
These wells are typically 300 to 1,200 metres deep, going through aquifers to coal beds. To release the gas, salty water trapped in the coal seam has to be pumped to the surface, allowing the gas to flow.
Certainly it offers Australia and Queensland an unparalleled economic opportunity.
For industry analysts like Graham Bethune, coal seam gas is an industrial and resource wonder.
Within Australia there's been concern about environmental risks. However, there are hundreds of regulations over the industry. The industry is more heavily regulated than the uranium industry. So certainly I'm confident that any environmental risks in Australia are minimised and been well controlled.
And certainly there's less obvious environmental impact and disruption to agriculture than open-cut mining. But coal seam gas extraction is by no means risk-free.
Our concern with coal seam gas is that we don't really know what we're risking. We don't know enough about the long-term impacts on our water supplies and hence on our food security to know really if this industry is safe.
Queensland Green Senator Larissa Waters is usually aligned with urban-based environmentalists, but her sentiments are very much echoed by the rural lobby.
We don't really understand what is going to happen there. It's not like there's a window that you can actually see in there and see what is going on. If there is cross-aquifer contamination, what's going on with the aquifers under the ground, how that's actually going to impact on the surface and what we're going to actually see on the landscape.
And that's what Commonwealth Government scientists recently identified as the main risk of this new industry.
We consider that the overriding issue in coal seam gas development is the uncertainty surrounding the potential cumulative regional scale impacts of multiple developments.
One of the biggest risks of coal seam gas is the cumulative effect all these projects will have on the Great Artesian Basin. Do you accept that's one of the biggest risks?
Most scientists will say there is some uncertainty. The question is, do we understand what the uncertainties are? And if we fall outside of those uncertainty ranges, what can we do about it?
Rick Wilkinson heads the industry representative group, the Australian Petroleum Production and Exploration Association, or APIA.
With water, it's a very long time frame. It goes over decades. So you do have several years to address the issues and make good.
The other major environmental issue is a process known as hydraulic fracturing or fracking. In some cases, miners have to crack open the coal seam by injecting a mixture of water, sand and chemicals. But during a recent federal parliamentary inquiry, arguably the biggest complaints from landholders were about the aggressive negotiating tactics of some coal seam gas companies.
There are many landowners of advancing age, of limited understanding or just overly trusting and compliant. Companies do occasionally take unfair advantage of that.
Isn't that just a way of ambushing people? Instead of riding into town on horses, now they come in Toyota Land Cruisers?
Do you accept the industry has at times suffered from some aggressive negotiating tactics?
I think we're all learning, both farmers and the coal seam gas companies are learning about each other and about how to work with each other. That's an important thing to get right. Clearly we're on the land of the farmers and we have to do the right thing.
We need CSG.
More than $45 billion of CSG investment is already breathing new life into country towns.
Part of APIA's move to do the right thing is this PR campaign, with tailored advertisements for both Queensland and New South Wales. And undoubtedly, the new resource industry has provided a financial lifeline to some rural communities. But in the court of public opinion, the trial has only just begun.
New South Wales wants those jobs.
It does smack a bit of desperation, and the Petroleum Explorers Association, APIA, have claimed they've got strong community support. Well, I certainly haven't heard anyone in the communities that I've visited come out in favour of coal seam gas.
This industry's going at 100 miles an hour. It's got that sort of boom mentality that's in there. It's had the sort of the prospecting mentality, the gold rush mentality, and now it's a booming industry. People are wanting to know more about what's going on. They want the science to be proved to them.
Overall, the farming and environment movements say the horse has bolted before we've sat down and really had a good look at the implications of this new industry. It's all happened very fast, hasn't it?
Yes, and I think I agree with that because it has happened quickly. I mean, this has been a fantastic resource that's been identified and developed in a very short, comparatively short period of time. And so that's one of the reasons that we're having these sorts of debates and discussions, is people are getting used to that and working through what are the implications.
Peter McCutcheon reporting.